Hyena social life is extremely complex. Since it is a matriarchal society, with females larger than males and dominant over them, we would spend much of our time observing the behavior of mothers and the antics of their cubs. Hyena cubs already have many teeth at birth. Born in a more advanced state of development than most carnivores, they quickly display remarkable mobility. Each hyena has an individual personality. After watching them for a while, they can be easily identified, although it is difficult to initially determine which cubs belong to which mother, at least until they begin to suckle, for the females will nurse only their own offspring. The normal hyena litter is 2 cubs. They are born with black baby fur, which they will begin to shed at about 3 months. In some cubs, the struggle for dominance starts early as they compete for their mother's milk. This rivalry will continue throughout the 18-month-long nursing period. In contrast to most of the cubs, the 2 belonging to Ms., the dominant female and leader of Lakeside clan, seemed uninterested in play. After a year and a half, they were still bickering over their mother's milk. We referred to them as the terrible twins, Thistle and Willow. Willow, the submissive twin, constantly whined and complained, while Thistle continually asserted dominance over Willow. Willow was going hungry, and Ms., the mother, showed concern. Finally, it seemed that Thistle had had enough, and Ms. was at last able to devote complete maternal attention to Willow. Perhaps for the moment, Ms. had no milk for Willow, and so tried to reassure the cub in other ways. Willow seemed content. Ms., like most hyena females, was a good mother to both her offspring. Suddenly one day, a strange male appeared, whom we did not recognize as a member of Lakeside clan. He seemed very interested in Ms. At first, Ms. simply ignored him and concentrated her attention on the twins, who carried on as usual. We know that occasionally males will seek membership in a neighboring clan. Perhaps this hyena, whom we named Shadow, was such an intruder. Shadow's presence seemed to bother Ms., and she kept him at a distance. It was Dr. Hans Crook, a Dutch biologist, who first revealed that hyenas live in social units, which he named clans. He discovered that there are 8 different hyena territories in the Ngorongoro crater, and that each clan regularly patrols and protects its boundaries. A sudden agitated flurry seemed to indicate that the scent of a neighboring clan had been found. It was the Scratching Rocks clan on their own marking expedition. A confrontation seemed imminent. Boundaries fluctuate, depending upon a clan's success or failure in defending its borders. As Grub and I approached the dens, I wondered if Shadow, the strange male, would still be there. By now, many of the hyenas of Lakeside Clan had become accustomed to us and seemed not to mind our presence, even when we came very close. As for us, we were becoming very fond of them, even when they seemed determined to eat our transportation. It was interesting to see that a hyena mother will sometimes move her young cub from one den to another. This mother seemed nervous, for the members of the clan were seeing her infant for the first time. It has been reported that on occasion a male adult will kill a newborn cub. For a moment, it looked as if she were trying to hide her cub from us as well. There was little rest for Ms. Though, like the others, she too sought peace in the mud and water, the twins continued to bother her, whining and crying to be fed. And there was Shadow, still hovering near. Finally, Ms. moved out of the water so she could feed the terrible twins. Ms. seemed ill at ease. Was it because Shadow was so close? Shadow seemed attracted to Ms., but she obviously was not interested. Ms. seemed ready now to nurse her twins, and once more Thistle appropriated the mother's milk and denied Willow a share. I would not be surprised if one day Thistle inherited Miz's position as leader of the Lakeside clan. Miz had her problems. She had to keep an eye on Shadow, who still lurked nearby. At the same time, she was also trying to encourage the timid Willow to feed, despite Thistle's interference. It was getting increasingly difficult. Every day, Thistle seemed to be growing ever more dominant over the submissive Willow. With great intensity, Shadow was watching Miz. The twins had temporarily departed. Was Shadow perhaps courting Miz? When Thistle returned, Shadow gave way. But only for a moment. As Willow rejoined Miz, in frustration, Shadow pawed the ground and watched for his next opportunity. It was incredible that Shadow persisted so. Perhaps this kind of persistence would eventually gain him admission into the clan. Up to this point, Shadow had apparently been tolerated by members of the clan. But now their behavior toward him seemed to support the theory that Shadow was indeed from a different clan. He stood his ground against them and took the offensive. Shadow was showing great determination, but the odds were against him. One by one, the Lakesiders entered the fray. They mobbed Shadow and pinned him to the ground. Finally, pursued by the clan, he was forced to flee. Since we were unable to follow him at night, we had lost track of Shadow. After looking for him for several days, we suspected that he'd given up and left Lakeside territory. Then we were surprised to find him, being mobbed once more by members of the Lakeside clan. Apparently, Shadow was still trying to join the clan. I couldn't help feeling sorry for him. He was taking so much punishment. It seemed such a losing battle.
For a lone hyena to handle.
We felt a growing sympathy as we watched this lonely figure. We continued to follow him, wondering where his story would lead. After so many failures, it was good to see Shadow succeed. But apparently it was not going to be easy for Shadow to keep his prize. Jackals are very efficient scavengers. This one was intent on thievery and would not allow Shadow to eat in peace. Soon another unwelcome guest arrived. The kite could steal Shadow's meal with one successful dive. The hyena's hindquarters are particularly vulnerable to attack. The jackal was persistent, and then another one arrived. With both the harassment by the jackals and the insistence of the kite, it was growing increasingly difficult for Shadow to contend. As we followed Shadow, we realized he was heading back toward the dens of the Lakeside clan. After all that he'd been through, could it be that he would still seek acceptance there? Miz and the twins were in their usual position, as Shadow moved in more boldly than ever before. It was as if this would be his final and most determined effort to win Miz over. Suddenly, Shadow turned away. He seemed nervous and somewhat apprehensive. Ms. continued to tend the twins, though Shadow was closer than he had ever been before. Shadow stood quietly, as if waiting for a reaction, but Ms. neither threatened nor attacked him. And as he lay down beside her, she didn't seem to mind. After observing the daily lives of individual hyenas, we found that there are many things about them that make them most likable creatures indeed. When next we saw Shadow, he seemed to be taken for granted. His presence caused no concern, no stir or agitation. Apparently, Shadow had gained admittance to the Lakeside clan. Now Ms. and the terrible twins were visited by a relaxed and confident Shadow. He belonged here now. Obviously, Ms. had accepted him too.